The Rock and Roll and Coffee Show is brought to you by Retroactive, located at Broadway at the Beach in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, taking you back to the 70s, 80s, and 90s. ShopRetroactive.com. Pick up your bottle of the Rock and Roll and Coffee Show Hot Rockin' Hot Sauce now at Retroactive or rnrcoffeeshow.com.
It's the Rock and Roll and Coffee Show. Yeah, with Joe.
I saw your YouTube videos with your birthday.
Yeah.
What was that all about? It looked like a whole full day party.
Yeah, just I always like to throw parties like that. I on my 60th, I had all these kids coming from the Rocket Foundation. So they were all kids playing classic rock. And then I had my friends come in too. Zach Wild came in and jammed with them, and I went on stage with Zach, and we kind of did a karaoke version of Born to Be Wild uh, when it first got an Ozzy back in the 80s. Yeah, so we did a little Born to Be Zach Wild that we did back then, and we kind of did it live for the first time. So that was kind of like, it was kind of fun being on stage and with my friends. So this time around, I got my friend 6 Seconds to Mars up there, did a Motley tribute. Me and my girlfriend Mikkel did Home Sweet Home. I mean, I'm no singer, but
I saw you up there singing. It was fun.
Yeah. And then we had an Elvis impersonator in between, so in between each band there was I was kind of like tour manager. So I wish there was kind of two of me, one kind of organizing it and one just to having fun. So it was an all day event.
Yeah, that's fun. That I was watching it and that was a blast. Saw you up there singing.
And then my good buddy Keith Roth from Sirius XM, and he's now the singer in the Dictators. He came out there with a couple bands, one band called Kingston and Greystone Star, and then his band City Asylum, doing kind of covers like T-Rex and the Stones, and then he introduced a clip that my office got together of Ozzy and Sharon, Jack and Kelly kind of wishing me a happy birthday. So that was kind of special.
Yeah, I was going to ask how special was that for you to get that call, that video clip?
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, I guess yeah, between Camille, who's been working for me for 30 years, and Michael, who's been working for Ozzy and Sharon for probably 40 years. I guess Camille reached out to Michael and they made it happen. And then, in between the bands, they popped it up there. So it was very, very special.
Was this at your house?
Yeah, it's my backyard.
You're up in New Jersey?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, you were born and raised in Jersey. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was born in Newark. I didn't spend much time there, maybe a few months. And then we moved to Old Bridge, New Jersey, and then Matawan, where I was raised, and kind of got my start mowing lawns.
Yeah. You've told that story. I know a bunch of times about how you mowed the lawn. The guy gave you the camera. One thing I was interested in is you started doing photography, but then you put the camera down for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I was intrigued by the camera. To me, it was like a magical thing where you would take photos and develop them and put a piece of paper in, and it turns out to be an image. For a 13-year-old kid, it's like pretty cool. But then I started shooting my brother and my dog and family events, and that kind of got boring. And then I kind of put it on the side, and then I started going to concerts, and that's when it was like the eye opener. All right, this is fun. This is cool. This is how you're gonna meet chicks and friends and just have a lot of fun.
When you got into photography, did your friends react to photography? Like, because usually, when you have friends that are into baseball, bikes, and stuff like that, and here you are, all into the photography stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I was really the only one into the photography out of my friends, but they were all into music. We all went to concerts, so now they would go with me to help hustle my pictures at the concerts. So they were, tagging along with me, sneaking into concerts and taking pictures, and they were helping me, be the lookout and that kind of thing.
How did you get was the camera was big, I'm guessing at that time, right?
Well, it's the same thing. It's, it's a regular size, but I used to have these fry boots, and these fry boots were, it'd be like this big kind of almost like cowboy boots. So I would stick like my lenses in there and put the body of the camera kind of around my neck where it would dangle in back of me. So when they pat you down, they don't really check. So it was all, and then when I got in, the lights went out and I jumped over the barricade. I would assemble them. I would first of all I would like go down the aisle and I would take apart the chairs because they were like interlocking chairs, and I would move them over so the ushers couldn't come down anymore to kick anyone out. So I'd have a little space where I could watch the show from and take pictures from. So that was kind of my go-to.
I used to do kind of the same thing, but I got, what's that, a bar camera? It was like a bar, you know what I mean? Like the Kodak little
Oh yeah, I
like
know.
that. So I used to have the big high top Reeboks because those were popular in the 80s. And I would put it in my shoe. And then I would kind of try not to limp, but try not to put too much pressure on it and walk in. And that's how I got my camera in. But that was just, like I said, just a little camera. So I'd have to hold that up and then pull it down after I took a shot.
What shows, like how early back did you start sneaking your cameras in?
I started sneaking in probably around Girls, Girls, Girls. I got some shots of Poison, and Rat. And I still have the photos, but you
Mhm.
didn't know I had no idea I was going to get. I'm just sticking that camera up and
Yeah,
shooting.
it was a 110 probably called, right?
But I don't know. I don't know. And then I moved to the disposables because they were smaller.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I still have all those photos. It was fun stuff. So let's talk a little bit about your book because now you went through your whole career here and you have all these photos. You decide to put them into a book.
Yeah, I mean, I was so busy in the 80s, jumping from tour to tour. I was out with, Aerosmith and Rat and Ozzy, Motley Crue. So I would like spend like a week or two with each band on, traveling on their tour buses and doing photo shoots backstage, just like nonstop. Then I'd go back to my studio in New York and develop them and, do the business. I was just so busy. I always wanted to have a portfolio, but I never did. So this is like, 30 years later, I decided to put something together, which was when I started working on The Decade That Rocked. And it's kind of like my portfolio that, I always wanted. And took me like 5 years to produce. And yeah, it's been out for about 4 years. It's still selling, you can get them on my site.
Got it right here.
That's it.
And I
Yeah.
got to say, I did not know how big this thing was going to be.
I know when you see it online, like all the books look the same. You don't know, you have to read the specs on it, but this one's 6 pounds. So, and it's about almost 400 pages with gatefolds. It's a pretty well done book.
It's very cool because you have the photos and then you tell stories about them. Was it difficult to revisit the past to remember things about that?
Well, a lot of times I would, first of all, I had a couple of people interview a lot of the people that I photographed and to give them memories of it because my memory was really non-existent. So they would tell the stories and then it would help me remember. Then I look at the photographs and I kind of pieced it together. And it just kind of took a life of its own. So it's part of them, part of me, and embellishment a little bit here and there, but it's pretty much what's in there is what happened. So and I often read it again because I forget, and the more I read these things that happen, during these photo shoots, the more I'll burn into my brain.
Now, you took all these photos, but did you own all the photos or did you have to get permission to use some of the photos?
No, I know they're all my photos, so everything I have is still mine, and I sell gallery prints. I sign them, do limited editions. But no, I always started with the bands at the beginning when they were, when Motley Crue first came out, when Bon Jovi first came out. And I would do spec shoots a lot, and they want to be in the magazine. So I kind of developed my relationships, and the record companies didn't really hire me. They did when I started doing the album covers, but they always had their flavors and of their own people doing their publicity photo shoots. So I would always do them on spec. I would pay for the film. I would work for magazines, and then I'd retain the rights. So then the record companies end up buying them back from me, like because I got the good stuff. It's relationships is what makes a good photographer and make the artist feel comfortable, not, you know, someone that's doing catalog photography and then doing a band photo shoot, you know. So I connected with all these bands in the 80s just because we come from the same cloth, you know. We all loved the music in the 70s, you know, Bowie, Aerosmith, Zeppelin, Kiss, and those are the bands that I liked, and it ends up being the bands that were successful in the 80s, you know, the 80s rock and metal bands. So
And how did you build that trust with the bands? Was it just through, being professional at the shoots and putting out quality photos? I mean, how did they start trusting you to be the guy to call?
just having fun with them, you know, just getting them in the magazines. You know, when they see themselves in the magazines for the first time, it's like, wow, you know, and if I was the guy that brought it to them, they don't forget that. And the bands that were established, like when in '81 when I first shot Ozzy, I mean, I was only 22 and I first photo shoot with Ozzy, but they saw me and they kind of, you know, they kind of felt like they were comfortable around me and they feel safe and they trusted me, you know. So I would let the bands approve the photos. A lot of photographers didn't, but I felt uh, I would edit out the bad photos, so all they're seeing is photos that they're going to approve anyway. And that's how I kind of built the relationship up with. And then they would take chances with me and do some funny photos, like with Ozzy when you know he dressed up like a Easter bunny and pink tutu and all that stuff. So
There's one he in your book, he's wearing like Mickey Mouse ears or something coming out of a cake.
yeah, that was a real surprise. That was for the 13th anniversary of Circus Magazine. And the idea was I got all the props together. He was supposed to jump out of this cake that I designed, and I rented at a prop house in LA, and we're going to do it in his garage in LA. And I had all these balloons, and I got this sign that said "Happy 13th" with the bat on it because that's after the bat incident happened. And he was just supposed to pop out of the cake. And then when I got there, Sharon said, I don't know if we're, no, she said, Ozzy shaved his head. And I'm like, what? He goes, he shaved his head. He's bald and he's got nicks on him. And, you know, I said,
Oh,
you know,
geez.
and I said, I was like ready to pack up. He goes, oh, no, but we're going to do the shoot. And I said, all right, what are we going to do? Next thing you know, Sharon starts painting on his head like that V thing, you know, like looking like Uncle Fester with this V on it. And then the balloons were like bouncing around, the black balloons. And I'm like, I took two balloons and I just taped them on his head. And then they look like Mickey Mouse ears. I
Oh,
mean, we
those are
didn't,
balloons?
yeah, yeah, we didn't,
Oh,
that was not planned. That was just like a couple balloons floating around. And I felt like it needed something. So we just put him on there and he just gave that face and that was
that's
it.
funny. Was he one of your most fun people to shoot?
Oh yeah, yeah, always. Yeah.
Was he up for anything?
It was pretty much for anything. But those are the days when Ozzy was drinking a little bit. So he was more of a fun Ozzy. Uh, and everyone loved Ozzy. I mean, you know, even you look at the old footage when he was in Sabbath, you know, he was like class clown, you know, just knew how to have fun. He used to drink a lot and that helps a bit too, but you put the two together and you got a character.
Tell me about you had in your book too, you mentioned a part where you were looking for a band that was up for anything, and that's when you found Motley Crue. Was that the first time you met them?
Yeah, it was well, I was working for a men's magazine called We. It was owned by Playboy and it was so me and my friend Michael Kirk, we were doing this music section just starting and they wanted us to get rock stars with naked women and like some kind of concept. So Motley Crue was probably one of the first ones we did, or no, not the first, but I think it was 1982. Then no one really knew who they were. They never got any kind of publicity outside of LA. And we presented it to their publicist, Bryn Bridenthal, over at Elektra, and she said, "Oh, the boys are going to love this." And she introduced us at a Mexican restaurant, and we all got pretty much, drinking and having fun. And then we went to the Rainbow, and then we did the shoot the following week, became fast friends, and they saw this shoot as like uh kind of like a way to show the world on who they are. Like, here we are, lock up your daughters because we're going to be touring. We're going to be, tearing the place apart. So we shot them. They brought the camp candelabras, and we had smoke, and we had motorcycles and half naked women that we got at the Jim South modeling agency, where we used to pick out, nude models for shoots. And then we went back to the Rainbow after, and had some more fun. So that first thing, yeah. And you know, it was their first introduction to the world, really, that photo shoot.
And whose idea was it to put them on pink?
Uh,
Because it
Probably,
looks really cool, but it's like an odd color. You wouldn't think pink would
yeah.
be.
I think I did. Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to contrast pink and black, and the smoke. I got this pink smoke that you light up and comes out of the trash can. So
Yeah, you do great with smoke and colors. Has that been something that you've always strived to, that like that's how
yeah.
you light the scenes?
Well, when I first started shooting studio photos, you did have to set up a background, white, blue, whatever the color was, or whatever. And I used to do a lot of my early shoots backstage at concerts, so I never really knew what color background to bring. So you really, it's this big 9 foot roll of seamless. So I used to bring a black roll of seamless, and then I take the black, and then you light it, and all you do is put color gels on the back and smoke it up, and then change that background to whatever color you want. So depending on what the band was wearing, I would either match it or just make it complement it, and it was just an easy way to change the background. Because back in the day with all the magazines, I would make money by selling pinups, and I would have them change their clothes, like put on a red jacket, then a blue jacket, and by them doing that, I would change the background color as easy as they were changing their outfits, because it's dollar signs every time they changed, because all the magazines were doing that. So that was kind of my thing, and I just love the way that smoke is very inconsistent. It's never really the same. So there's always you don't know what you're going to get all the time. And I kind of like that about photography. I don't like it being kind of the same thing, like them against the white background all the time. That's kind of boring to me. So the smoke kind of gave it a little bit of a little, sometimes mystery, a couple, it depends, but
Does it, is the smoke what gives it the color with the lights? Like you say, it's a black background, but that it's not the black background that.
no, it's you put like colored gels on front of the lights, and the lights hit the background with the smoke, and that's what lights it up, the different colors. So if you have a red gel on shooting out, it's going to be red smoke. If you have a green gel on it, it's shooting out, it's going to be green.
I see. When you're shooting like bands like Motley Crue or Guns N' Roses throughout their career, I mean, you're pretty much following them their whole career. Do you see the dynamics changing in the band? Like, are they, do you see when they're starting to not get along?
I always looked at it as just like brothers playing, just getting in fights and making up and hanging out. Uh, Bands it's kind of like a brotherhood. So that's what I saw.
The U.S. festival, was that your first big festival, or did you do one before that?
Oh, that was my big one. Yeah, the U.S. Festival, 1983.
And how did you get called to do that? Who were you working for there?
Well, okay, there's a good story on that one. And I was working with Ozzy. I was working with Ozzy since '81, and that's '83. I was doing his tour books, and I was supposed to do a photo shoot with Ozzy uh, to promote the show, and Sharon was sending over this prop. She told me it's some wardrobe in this crate, and Ozzy was going to come over and we'll do the photo shoot in my studio. And I was like, great, all right, cool. So the crate comes over. It's like 5 feet tall by 5 feet wide. This big crate looks like it came from Africa or something. And they didn't come for the shoot. And I waited and waited, and she's like, "Oh, sorry, Ozzy wasn't feeling good. We're gonna have it shipped to California, to the US Festival." And she said, and so I'm like, I didn't open it yet. She told me not to open it, and I opened it, and it was this big feathery thing. It's what he wore at the US Festival, and so I put my camera on a tripod, and I dressed up on with this costume myself, totally naked underneath. And I took a self-portrait of myself, which is in my book. You can see it in the 83 chapter openers. And they never even knew I did it. I mean, until they saw the book.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's great.
And then of course, Sharon, they used to get me into any show I wanted to get into, and they wanted me to cover everything. So they flew me over, and that's how I got to the US Festival. Same like Live Aid when Black Sabbath reunion. I was there for that one as well.
Yeah, you hit a lot of the big things. Like you went to Moscow, right?
Yeah, yeah, I was the official photographer for that one. That was really awesome.
Yeah, what was that like?
That was pretty fun. Yeah, it's like a bunch of high school kids getting on a bus and just going to a place that no one's gone before, and just everyone. For me, it was like amazing. It's all these bands, Cinderella and Scorpions, Ozzy, Motley, Bon Jovi,
Skid
all these
Row.
bands. They're all like hanging out with each other, and it's a photographer's dream. And I was doing photo shoots with them. I was going around town with them. I even went with Bon Jovi at the Olympic Stadium that winter before when they were meeting all these dignitaries. So I did that shoot for Rolling Stone. And we did this really classic photo of them standing in front of the Olympic torch, and it's with snow all around it, this empty stadium. So yeah, it was definitely a special concert, and especially where we are right now and what's going on now, it's hard to believe. So it was like it really was like their Woodstock.
Yeah. Yeah, that was I remember that was supposed to be like a sober event too, right?
No, yeah,
But it wasn't.
no.
Yeah. How did you know who to follow? Like, did you have a schedule of you're going to be with this person at this time, this person with that time?
Just word of mouth. The managers would call me, the publicists would call me, the bands would call me. It
Okay.
and then I'd find out who was doing a video shoot. Then I'd find out from the video, where they were going to be. And then, of course, what I ended up doing, which I really dreamt about doing as a kid, is doing album covers.
Right.
And, that happened when I did the Hungry album cover with
That was
and
your first.
yeah. And then from
And
there, I think Last Command, Under Lock and Key, Night Songs, Slippery When Wet.
Night
Uh,
Songs is one of my favorite album covers. I'm not sure why. There's just something about it though. It's just an awesome photo.
thanks.
And that was shot during the day. I remember you
I
saying.
shot, I shot Day for Night. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you do that? What's the technique for that?
Well, Tom asked that question when I interviewed him for my social media, and at the time he's like, he didn't know when I told him I shoot Day for Night, he had no idea what I was talking about, but he trusted me,
Yeah.
and I just did it. It's a simple concept. It's just basically you have to understand light and strobes. Strobes are more powerful than outdoor light. So if you're shooting a band in the shade and you don't use a flash, it's going to be kind of muddy and darkish. You want them to pop. You want to have a flash on them. That will make the background go dark because there's so much light hitting their face. The the proportion of the light to dark is more powerful on their face. So the background that looks kind of light, it will go dark if you
Mm.
push more power in front of them. So it's all about balance of light and being in control of the light.
Did you learn all this stuff by experimenting, or did you have somebody that was showing you as you were coming up learning photography?
Just experimenting, like that one was just yeah, by just shooting outside with a flash. It's the same concept, but I just took it a step further with generators and lights and smoke and all that. So yeah, everything I did was really just trial and error. Even when I shoot now, I don't I go in a situation and I just kind of I don't think too much about it unless it's of course like the Stay Hungry album or Dokken or an album cover. But when I take a band outside, I just kind of go to an environment and try to put them where they feel most comfortable and lighting the best, and that's how you get a good photograph.
And did you come up with the concepts for the album covers a lot of the times, or was there an art department that said this is what we want? And how'd that work?
Yeah, well, with Stay Hungry, I believe Dee had the idea, or maybe it was Mark Mendoza had the idea of having the band in this desolated room, um, which we built for the photo shoot, and then have like rats in there and just make it look cobwebby. And the band was supposed to be on one side of the room in makeup, and around the table or on the other side, it was supposed to be them without makeup, and they're supposed to be in the same room. But I made this room, and it wasn't like a big enough room to make it work. And the bands really weren't giving me, it was so controlled. The bands weren't giving me the vibe, or some of the members weren't giving me what I needed from them. D himself was kind of laying back. It's the first time I did a photo shoot with any of them. And D was kind of laying back, trying to be a team player, while the other guys were just kidding around all the time and kind of screwed up a lot of the photos. And we didn't realize till probably the last couple of years, D and myself, that he didn't even realize that he was holding back because he was trying to be a team player, but he didn't realize it wasn't projecting because of that. So after everyone left to the shoot, asked if anyone wanted to do some solos, and D was the only one that stuck around. And all of a sudden, D like turned into this caged animal, and I just threw the bone at him, and one roll of film, last frame on the roll of 36, and we got that shot. And I turned everything in, and it was almost the beginning of the end of the band because like when that happened, nothing to do with what I did. I just took a bunch of photos. We were there for like 23 hours, doing photos against this background, a brick wall, solos. And, I just turned them in, and they used that one photo, and the band was upset because they wanted to be on the cover. So that was like the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
And after that, D could do no wrong because he's D Snyder, and he's smart guy, and was writing almost everything. And then when Come Out and Play came out, he wanted me to art direct it, and we had this manhole cover. And that's I don't know if you can see it, but that's the underneath part when D was under the cover. It's made out of wood, but I have a real street and I have a real manhole or manhole cover out of metal. It's like 400 pounds, and the street is about 2,000 pounds. It's in my garage, and it says Mr. Come Out and Play.
Wow.
So that was quite a project. Unfortunately, it was a pop up. It was very in detail and pretty in depth. But unfortunately, they picked the wrong single and to start out leader of the pack, and
Yeah,
and
that was an odd choice, wasn't it?
yeah,
After
yeah,
coming off Stay Hungry.
yeah. Well, D could do no wrong, but he
Well,
found later on that he could. But it
yeah.
all worked out at the end. He's not doing too bad now.
Now, the W.A.S.P. Last Command, that's the one with Blackie on it, right?
Yeah,
Was that the same kind of situation? I mean, was it just him?
well, with Blackie, it was known to be a dictatorship almost. You know what I mean? It was his band. Twisted Sister was always a band. I mean, JJ started the band, and they had other singers. And when Deese joined, it turned into be the band that it was. I believe AJ joined last, and they wanted it to be a band. Blackie, maybe Blackie saw the success of Stay Hungry with D on the cover on his own, and wanted just decided just to go for that route. He could, I mean, we did do photos with all the band members, but Blackie wrote everything on that, I believe, and it was his band. And I think he had a vision of him being on the cover the whole time with holding the flag. And what we did, we bought, I think it was an SIR, we bought like a dump truck of dirt, and we just piled it in there, and we put bones around it. And I got this canvas background of a like a sunset, and I threw some orange gels on it to give it that look. Uh, and that's how we got the cover. And then we also did some band photos, solos that they used on the back.
That's so cool. Did you I know video wasn't as easy accessible back then, but did you ever film any of these shoots on
Uh,
video?
yeah, unfortunately, not really. The only one we did was Come Out and Play, which I have on my YouTube channel. Uh, some really classic footage of D inside and me directing him, and him going in the manhole with the smoke coming out. So that's really the only one. I started picking up the cameras were too big, and it was just another piece of equipment. And but when High 8 came out in the late 80s, that's when I got that, and that's when I started documenting the Skid Row guys when they were recording and on the road all around because a lot of those they have a home video called "Oh Say Can You Scream." That's like mostly all my footage.
Oh, is it? I have that video. I have it on VHS.
Oh yeah, that's funny. Funny. We had some good times.
Yeah,
And,
it looked like it. I love that video. That was
uh,
probably my favorite home video back in the day.
it's fun, yeah.
And you
And
filmed out most of that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And John, when John recorded Blaze of Glory, he had me. I was there to photograph it, but I said, let me take my high eight camera and videotape it. So I got, Little Richard and um, who else was there? Elton John, and I pretty much documented the sessions, and then did all the videos too after that. And then when Bon Jovi did the Keep the Faith album, I went with him, photographed him for like 6 weeks. They had a private plane and everything, and I would bring the camera and I would just follow him around and just take tons of footage.
You were doing YouTube before YouTube.
Exactly.
Did you ever have the urge to maybe start getting more into video and less into still photography?
Well, I started to do that. I did a video for Overkill. I did a Skid Row video, Wasted Time, and I started doing home videos for CMC Records when they were signing deals with Leonard Skinner and Eddie Money and Styx, and so they started hiring me to do a lot of their album covers, but also do some home videos where we did some productions. So I started doing that, but it was too much work. I mean, with still photos, you just take the photos and you edit them. It's pretty simple. There's so much work involved. It was fun shooting it, but then after that, it's like weeks and weeks and weeks. I did like the working with the bands doing it, but it ended up being more of a chore than having fun with it.
Sure. Now, back when in the 80s and stuff, you couldn't see what you were shooting. So was it difficult to like, and you couldn't really edit like you can today. So
Right.
what you shot is almost what you had, right?
Right. Yeah, it was a lot of stress. I never knew what I was getting.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Going through the X-ray machine, having the film, developing it. I mean, it was a process, and who would ever have thunk that it would be such an easy process, 10, 15 years later.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Do you think the art of photography is getting lost with the technology that's coming out now with like these phones that just adjust everything for you.
I
And
mean, I think, photography should be as easy as possible. So you are at ease with what you have. And, a lot of people aren't technical, and I'm not technical at all. And, that's why I kind of love the digital, because I don't like to make sure everything's perfect. I just want to see something. If it looks good, it's good. So same with other people. So, you have to have an eye. You have to be able to relate to people. That's what makes you a good photographer. Uh, if you want to do creative, like huge, like billboards and art and something crazy, then you might have to be a little more technical. But I don't really have any desire for that. I'd rather just capture the moments, and as many as I can, as real as they can. I mean, I like shooting bands now still in clubs rather than, or theaters rather than in the big arenas where everything's like perfect all the time. So,
how about AI in photos now? What's your feelings on that?
well, it's probably going to give another life to my photographs if I decide to start playing around like that. Because, here I can take maybe a shot of Mick Jagger and put him in with someone else, and it's still my photos, and here they're, you know, and let's say I didn't want that mic stand there, it's been bothering me for 23 years.
It's
Let's get
gone
rid of it.
now, right?
Yeah. I mean, you probably shouldn't be doing that, but why not? It's you're looking at the same photo for so many years. Why not do something? That's why I'm involved with. I'm actually just started doing a project with Billy Morrison, who is Billy Idol's second guitar player for the last 15 years. He did a he's did a solo album called the Morrison Project, and he did a song called Crack Cocaine with Ozzy. That's kind of a big hit. He's been nominated for best indie song. I think today he was up for the award. I think he won actually. And so I got approached by a friend, this guy Charlie Reese, who has the X5 podcast in Huntsville, Alabama, and he gets all these. He's a rocker. He sings too. He has like a country thing going on. And my friend Jacob Bunton, who is a singer of Mick Mars and Mick Mars record, and producer. He produced Billy Idol's Rebel Yell remastered 40th anniversary record, and he was good friends with Charlie. And next thing you know, Charlie calls me up and says, Jacob told me about his friend Billy, and actually Billy was on Charlie's podcast at this X5 podcast. It's like a video thing, and they started putting two and two together, and they introduced me to him. And next thing you know, we're doing this art gallery in September, end of September in LA. 12 of my pieces where he paints them. He takes my images, he manipulates them a little bit, and he makes these huge 3 foot by 4 foot canvases and adds his thing to it. So it's adding another dimension to my photography, and I'm kind of excited about it. It's kind of
Yeah,
cool.
that sounds really cool. Is there anywhere we can see those now or no?
Well, we're about to send out a press release pretty soon. Uh, it's going to be open to the public on one day. It's end of September. It's going to be at a classic car showroom in LA, and Billy's probably going to do a little acoustic performance, I think, and get our friends there and put on a nice show. 12 pieces, and one of the pieces we're gonna donate. We're gonna do like have like a foundation involved so we can raise money for one of the foundations, and just raise some awareness and have some fun and meet new people and hang out with some old friends.
Was it hard to choose the photos? You have so many iconic photos.
Yeah, well, we were both kind of when we met each other, we kind of we hit it off pretty good. He's very outgoing and kind of knows what he wants, and I kind of know what I want too. And we started looking at photos together, and we probably within like, a couple hours, we kind of nailed it down into 12 pictures. And we got like a Tom Petty, we got an Ozzy, Billy Idol, um, Keith Richards, uh, Joan Jett.
That sounds really cool. Yeah, I can't
That's
wait to check that out.
that's the newest thing. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about this one. Now I've got this one too.
Oh yeah, rocked.
Rocked. Now this is your, I mean, this is more like a magazine
Yeah, it's
from
a
the
magazine.
day.
Hmm.
What's this all about?
I went on these Monsters of Rock cruises every year. With a lot of bands that from the 80s. And it was like a week before, and I usually do a book signing with my books. I do pretty good. And the books are like 6 pounds a piece. So if I bring 100 books on, that's a lot of books to bring on a cruise ship. And I always sell them out, 100, but 100 is enough. So I said, what if we did a magazine? They don't weigh much. And I asked Larry, who's the guy that puts it together, and he's like, "Yeah, you can do it." So this is like a week before the cruise.
Hmm.
And he said, "If you can pull it together." So I found a local printer to be able to do it if they give it to us in like a few days. So my girlfriend Mikkel, who's a graphic designer, uh, you know, rose to the occasion and the challenge, and basically we put together this magazine, just me and her, in 3 days. I mean,
Wow.
mostly her. I mean, it was my photographs. I picked the photos, got some copy, and it's pretty much, it was like a little bit from each magazine, a little bit from Circus, Hit Parader, Cream, and we did these pinups just to
Yeah.
make it it's a simple group photo, and it's a little bit about the band, nothing too crazy. So it
Did you write the copy?
uh, I had someone help me with it. But it's pretty much like if you were a kid and like 13 or 14 and didn't know anything about the band, you just read something quick to find some interest. So it was fun. And then we did Ace Frehley was on the cruise, so we did a centerfold.
Hmm.
And I feel that, and we sold them all out. We printed up 100 and we sold them. So we're gonna be starting, and we're going to be in this one. It was just photos of the bands that I shot in the 80s. And in the new issue, it's going to be uh, when past is present. That's our tagline. So like I just shot the Stones. So we're going to do a spread on the Stones and some pinups on the Stones, and then go back to when I shot them back in the 70s and 80s and throw some pinups there too. Same with Joan. I think Joan Jett's going to be on the cover of the premiere issue. This is like more like a commemorative issue for the Monsters of Rock cruise and its 80s bands. But the new magazine's going to have Judas Priest, Keith Roth interviewed Richie Faulkner when Priest came around. He interviewed Nelson, the Nelson twins. Um, I just shot Joan Jett and Pat Benatar, uh, and that's all going to be in there. So it's really whoever's around that I'm shooting. I'll pull my classic photos from back in the day, and we'll kind of like where past is present, and then we'll be putting new interviews and old interviews as well. So just something fun, and we'll have the magazine, and then it's also going to be a website, social media platform. This is like our flagship, but if it could take us a month, it could take us 2 months, 3 months to put the magazine together. But in the interim, we're going to have a website where we're looking for photographers and writers that can be part of rock magazine. So whatever rock scene they're in, and we'll give them a page. And I'll be the editor. I'll make sure everything that goes through it is going to be up to my standards. I'll give them advice, and we'll help get them photo passes, and on their way to become a rock photographer if they want to be one. And we'll have this abundance of photographs from around the world from different people. I mean, I encourage them not to stick with photos like I've done in the bands, like reach out and find new bands that are new bands, and as long as it's rock, and we'll post them, we'll give them a page, and we'll put the rock logo on it, like the pinup, so it'd be like a people can download them if they get the subscription, and if they can put them on their, get a printer and they can put them up like the old days, or they can buy the magazine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's cool.
rock,
So
yeah, rockmag.com.
yeah, rockmag.com. I'm looking at it right now, and you're gonna
Yeah.
you have on there a workshop coming up too, right? August 24th.
Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, I did one a couple years ago. It was Monsters on the Mountain. Now it's called Music on the Mountain, or the music. No, the music. The Mountain Music Mountain Festival. I think that's what it's called. Mountain Festival.
Something like that.
Mountain Music Festival. I should know that. And it's in Gatlinburg, Tennessee for 3 days. They have Joan Jett's headlining one day, Tesla's headlining another day, and Quiet Riot's playing. A lot of bands. Night Ranger, Dangerous Toys, and we're looking for some people to. We didn't really publicly announce it. We're still getting the fine details down, but yeah, we're trying to get, it's a little late in the game, so I want to get at least 10 people. So, if we can get 10 people to do it, I'll do the workshop. If not, I'll just go there and do a book signing, and bring some of these magazines there, and just have some fun. But yeah, anyone, it's hands-on. There's some video clips on, if you go on Facebook on Mark Weiss photography workshop, you'll see a lot of fun that we had with a couple of years ago. You can see, I mean, I'd have these bands come in, Queensryche and Stephen Piercy from Rat and Vixen Girls, and I had like 6 people. They would shoot them, and I would direct them. I'd be like in the background with headphones, and they'd have a little earpiece in, and I'd be kind of telling them if they were getting stuck or anything, to how to move them and things, So I would see what they're shooting, with tethering, and so it's kind of a hands-on. Then they go in the photo pit and they shoot the bands that day. So
How fun.
25th on Saturday. That's with the 38 Special, Foghat, Quiet Riot, Slaughter. So it's about like 8 or 9 bands.
When you were shooting it, when you were doing live concerts back in the day, did you get 3 songs to shoot, or were you allowed to stay there the whole time?
Well, and when I started getting photo passes, I was like a staff photographer for Circus Magazine.
Mhm.
So I was kind of already getting established pretty quick. And
Mhm.
the bands knew me, and the managements knew me, and they wanted. Circus Magazine was like the biggest rock mag at the time. So I would kind of get most of the time I was able to shoot the whole show.
Okay. Okay. I
And
asked because that, probably the early 2000s, late 90s, I used to get photo passes. I did like an Ozfest, shot Disturbed, I shot Corn, but we only got 3 songs. And
right,
then in that pit, you were fighting with the rest of the photographers that are in there.
I know
So,
people didn't like me.
you ever think about writing a book like about you?
Yeah. I'm actually not only gonna write a book, I'm gonna do like a movie on my life. Yeah. Because I just recently kind of figured out a few things on how I and why I became so aggressive with my photography, and how I stood out, and I'm still doing this. And what happened when I was a teenager, when I was 14, my brother was 2 years older than me, and he had some mental illness. He was a paranoid schizophrenic, and he ended up having a nervous breakdown and going to psychiatric. He even had shock treatment back then. It's pretty bad, and I was like, it kind of like, I felt so bad for my parents. It's just the two of us, and so I would always feel sorry for them, and I would be kind of like, they were dealing with my brother, and I would just kind of dealt with myself, so I kind of didn't get any attention. My brother got it because they had to deal with him. So when the photography came along and I started taking pictures, people started gravitating to me, and I started meeting people, and I started getting all this attention. And so when I take a photo, they would say, "Wow, who's in Oz?" And then when I started shooting bands, same thing. I would make friends. So it kind of gave me a need for attention. And still to this day, I mean, if I I could shoot a new band that's playing in a club. I want to make them happy. I want to like please them through my photographs. It doesn't have to be a arena band for me to, shoot them differently than a club band. Something I get off on, and that's why I like doing book signings, and I like to um, meet people and talk to them. And now I started a TikTok channel. It's my social media is Mark Weiss guy, pretty much all the way around. And I've been doing all these little clips starting 2 or 3 years ago with an intern named Zach. His middle name is Wild. His father named him after Zach, and he was like my first intern at the workshop, and he kind of got me started on doing these little mini. They're almost mini docs, and they're all with the phone, uh, and it's your regular TikTok things, but it was fun, and I still do them now. So when I go to a concert, I'll go to a show, I'll bring my little phone and I'll just walk in and start talking to people. Hey, what's going on today? Whether it's the fan or it's the artist. Uh, so give me a recap, and it's just good moments to capture, you know, uh, in this in that technology, and just building it up. And that's what we're going to do with Rocked also, just to build up the community awareness with the bands, whoever wants to be involved. And that's kind of what I'm doing now.
Now, Rocked, is that going to be like every 3 month issue? Is it every month? What's the plan for the putting them
It's
out?
Yeah, it's the website will constantly be like have new content in it, because as soon as I have all these photographers and it's launched, I I don't think we're gonna have any issue with content. But as far as the magazine, I mean, it's kind of like they'll be mostly my photographs for now, so it's kind of like it's like to do another book like The Decade That Rocked, which I will do amongst other ones like on Ozzy and Bon Jovi and Motley and Guns N' Roses. Like I have Van Halen, I have coffee table books on all those planned to go out, but it just takes too much time. So for now, I'm gonna just keep it simple with a little magazine, and that will keep me satisfied until I want to sit back and you know, and do a commit to a book.
All right. Hey, I want to ask you one more thing before I let you go. Is there a album cover or magazine cover that you're most proud of?
Well, definitely stay hungry, because that really was a game changer for me, and also Ozzy and the Pink Tutu was a game changer as well because, it was got a lot of reaction. Um, but yeah,
All right, Mark. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you taking the time. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. I've had your photos. I still have all my photos that I had on my wall when I was a kid. They're all in like uh, folders, I took them off the wall. They're in folders now, but I still have them all. And I'm sure more than half of them are your photos,
ah, awesome.
but it's fun to look back on. So I appreciate you taking the time, man.
Yeah, thank you.